Have you ever felt that sinking feeling, that familiar ache in your gut, as if you're watching a movie you've seen a dozen times, and you already know the ending? For Toronto Maple Leafs fans, that feeling is a recurring nightmare, a groundhog day of postseason disappointment and off-season strategizing that seems to hit the same brick wall every single time. After 9 consecutive seasons of making the Stanley Cup playoffs, yet failing to round off the roster for the ultimate triumph, are the Leafs once again facing a self-inflicted wound, leaving them with few options to truly contend? Welcome to the Hockey Huddle. I'm your name. And today, we're dissecting the grim reality of the Maple Leafs trade chip dilemma and what it means for their win-now aspirations. The empty pantry, a legacy of sacrificed futures. Let's cut right to the chase. Folks, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a bind, and it's a bind of their own making. For years, the mantra in Leafland has been all in, a relentless pursuit of immediate success that has seen them mortgage their future, pick by pick, prospect by prospect. This prolonged commitment to a core that, while talented, hasn't delivered the ultimate prize, has finally caught up to them. Now, with star homegrown winger Mitch Marner having departed, the urgency to find a replacement is palpable, but the cupboard, as they say, is bare. General Manager Brad Treliving has correctly identified the need for change, but the past transactions have left him with a severe lack of resources. We've seen it time and again. Future first-round draft picks and promising prospects shipped out for veterans, often rental players, who ultimately failed to move the needle in the postseason and then simply walked away. Remember the acquisition of former Boston Bruins defenseman Brandon Carlo last season? It cost the Leafs Fraser Minton and their first-round pick in 2026. That move, coupled with similar deals from prior years, means the Maple Leafs are now without a first-round pick until a distant 2028. Think about that for a second. No top-tier draft capital for years. On top of that, they have no second or fourth-round pick in 2026 and no third-round pick in 2027. It's a stark reality check for a franchise desperately trying to contend, revealing a painful truth. The path to supplementing this win-now roster through trades is incredibly narrow, almost non-existent. The chickens, as they say, have come home to roost. The Easton Cowan conundrum, a prospect too precious to trade? So, with a barren draft cupboard, what trade chips does Brad Treliving actually have at his disposal to land that elusive top-six forward? The answer, frankly, is a single, solitary blue-chip prospect, Easton Cowan. Cowan is undeniably the Leafs' best prospect, a player who has seemingly accomplished all there is to do at the junior level, dominating the OHL and showcasing immense potential. He's made promising appearances with the Maple Leafs over the past 2 preseasons, offering glimpses of his skill and tenacity. However, and this is a crucial however, he has yet to prove himself at the next level against the bigger, stronger, faster players of the NHL. Expecting him to be a significant offensive contributor right away in a top-6 role is, quite frankly, wishful thinking. While the Leafs organization holds Cowan in extremely high regard, that sentiment isn't necessarily universal across the league. Other NHL general managers might not value him as highly as Toronto does, making a straight-up swap of Cowan for a proven top-6 talent a tough sell. Most GMs would likely demand a draft pick sweetener along with Cowan. And as we just discussed, Toronto has a severe dearth of those. Consider potential trade candidates being floated. Names like Nazem Kadri, Erik Karlsson, Braden Shen, Brian Rust, and Ricard Raquel. All of these players, while talented, fall into the category of 30-something players potentially on the downside of their careers, offering a limited, perhaps 2-year, window of impact. If you're Treliving in the Leafs, is it truly sensible to trade away your best prospect in Cowan, a potential top-6 or top-9 winger for the next decade, for an older, declining player with such a short window for success? History, unfortunately, is not on Toronto's side here. The Leafs have made this exact mistake far too often, only to see their former players, like Kadri himself, prosper elsewhere after being traded. It's too great a risk, a gamble that could set the franchise back even further. Just as Austin Matthews' contract approaches its expiration, trading for within a limited and risky menu, given a severe lack of draft capital and blue-chip prospects beyond Cowan, Brad Treliving's gaze must inevitably turn to his current roster. If you can't acquire talent from outside, perhaps you can reconfigure from within? The problem, however, is that the options here are also incredibly limited and fraught with peril. Let's look at the forwards first. Players like Kaye Jarncroft, David Camp, or Max Domi are not going to fetch much, if anything, in a trade. Their contracts and roles mean they'd likely be salary cap dumps more than valuable assets. Moving them wouldn't create the space or return needed for a significant top six upgrade. What about the defense? Ironically, the Maple Leafs' depth in goal and on defense has become their strength. The top four of Chris Tanev, Jake McCabe, Morgan Reilly, who also holds a no-movement clause, complicating any potential move, and Brandon Carlo is a solid unit. Trading away a defenseman from this group for a forward would only weaken what has become a rare area of stability and strength of team. You fix one problem by creating another, potentially larger one. Then there's the goaltending. Anthony Stolarz significantly upped his value after a tremendous first season in Toronto, and Joseph Woll was solid again during the 2024-2025 season, and crucially, he stayed healthy. Both could theoretically fetch a decent return. However, the roadblock here is the depth chart behind them. Veteran Matt Murray has moved on, and prospects Dennis Hildebrand and Artur Akhtemov simply need more time to prove themselves at the NHL level. Trading away either Stolarz or Woll would put the Leafs' goaltending in dire straits, especially given their injury histories and the improving commodities waiting in the wings. It's a high-stakes gamble that could derail the entire season. Treliving's tightrope walk. Patience as he only plays so. What a general manager do when faced with an empty pantry and limited options. Brad Treliving's only viable course of action appears to be a difficult one. Patience. He must bide his time. Roll the dice on the coming season with players like Matthias Maxelli and incumbent Nick Robertson potentially stepping into top six roles, and hope for internal growth. This means trusting the development of his younger players and relying on the existing core to elevate their game. The absence of sensible trade options in the barren cupboard have left him with little choice but to play the long game. This involves using the time leading up to next year's NHL trade deadline for internal assessments on prospects like Hildebrand and, crucially, Easton Cowan, to truly understand their NHL readiness and long-term potential. Perhaps even more importantly, the Leafs must prioritize saving salary cap space for what is projected to be a strong, unrestricted free agent class in 2026. That's where their real opportunity lies to reinforce the lineup with proven talent, without sacrificing more of their already depleted future. A short-sighted mistake for the 2025 to 2026 season, driven by a desperate need for a top six forward, could be incredibly costly for the future of this franchise. The Toronto Maple Leafs' past moves have severely narrowed Treliving's possibilities, leaving him with a tightrope walk where patience isn't just a virtue, it's a necessity. It's a challenging time to be a Maple Leafs fan, isn't it? The hope is always there, but the reality of the team's asset situation is stark. What are your thoughts on Treliving's predicament? Do you think patience is truly the only path forward? Or is there a bold move he could make that we're missing? Let us know your take in the comments below. And if you appreciate this kind of in-depth analysis, please hit that like button and subscribe to the Hockey Huddle for more exclusive content. We're here to break down the game, the moves, and the emotions one shift at a time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.